podcast with your host Sana, where we explore what it truly means to live a life of balance, intention, and purpose in a fast moving world. Now, today's conversation is one I am personally excited about: building success from the inside out. We are diving into how prioritizing self care, boundaries, and nervous system support can actually be your secret weapon to creating a sustainable, successful business or career, holistically, your life. And joining me is someone who embodies this beautifully. Listeners, meet Heidi Weiland, a holistic business coach for sensitive solopreneurs. She's not just a strategist, but a soul centered guide who has lived the full spectrum of entrepreneurial highs and lows, from burnout and people pleasing to building a business that now supports her well being. She has done it all. So, if you have ever felt like scaling your business means sacrificing yourself, your peace, your body, or your why, this conversation will feel like a breath of fresh air. So let's quickly get into it. So Heidi, welcome to the show, and it's such an honor having you with us.
Hi, Sana. I'm so excited to be here and talk about this with you.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's start right at the heart of it, Heidi. What exactly does building success from the inside out mean to you personally, and how did you arrive at that philosophy?
That's a great question. For me, building success really, um, it's about you showing up in a way that is authentic to you and your energy and sustainable versus oftentimes we define success by external accomplishments, how many clients we have, our annual revenue, or what kind of car you drive. But if especially if you're a sensitive soul and you are working from that place, oftentimes it doesn't feel like you. And when you get there, you're either dissatisfied or frustrated or you're completely burned out. And that was really what was true for me. And when I started my entrepreneurial journey, I was in my early 20s and I didn't ever think about these things. There was so much work, like clients all of the time, things to do, and I had no boundaries. I thought I knew that I was overworking, and so my solution was to to just grow a team and get more work, and I never really tended to, the inner reasons that I was overworking and, like, what I really needed, which was to take care of myself, have stronger boundaries, and really, like, pay attention to what my body was telling me because something was off and I ignored it for far too long.
Mhm. That makes so sense because as when we speak from the context of solopreneurship or entrepreneurship, it's kind of rewarding to feel like that we're overworking, which of course is detrimental in a long way, but it's that kind of passion that we don't think about. Okay, when was the last time I have had a breakfast or a nice lunch or a nice power nap, energize myself, or when was the time I got to talk to my kids or to my parents. I mean, we unconsciously ignore ourselves and everyone around us. So it's really important for other solopreneurs, entrepreneurs especially out there, to take lessons and takeaways from journey of guests like you who have seen it all, who have experienced it, and they just want to spread that awareness around.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that, it's and not to shame anyone who's experiencing this, this is our culture. This is, I
Mm,
definitely here in the United States where we prioritize we think if we're not being productive, then we're getting behind. There's always something to do as a business owner, and when you couple that with the way that we idealize overworking, hustle, like that intense entrepreneurial energy, um,
mhm,
we in order to find our own way of doing things, we typically have to experience some burnout or like something that we really don't like, that it's not working. And then we step away for a bit and we ask ourselves, or how can I do this differently? What do I actually need to do in order to thrive as a solopreneur? Because it might be different than what we're receiving from, from our culture or from the industry. And so that takes time too. It takes a lot of experimenting, but this is your life, right? And it's worth it. It's really in the end because you can find ways of being in business that feel really aligned and wonderful.
Mm, true, true, absolutely true. And another, when we talk about burnout, you have said that your first sign was something not from mindset, but it was your body. Some people, they kind of realize that yes, I am experiencing burnout or I'm on the verge of it. And sometimes our body gives us those signals. We feel
Yeah.
frustrated, we feel kind of a drudgery, doing the daily activities itself, something we used to like before, we don't feel like doing it right now. So because I have experienced that, I have seen people in my own life, the people I work with. So why do you think we are so conditioned to ignore those signs?
Well, it's inconvenient for sure, because if we stop to listen, we're gonna stop our work. And, um, and then it's just not part of our culture to talk about our feelings and our experiences. It's definitely changing. Um, in my circle, in my industry, it's changed a lot. There's a lot of talk about nervous system now, but in traditional business, this is why I call myself a holistic business coach, because if you're in the startup community or you're reading the entrepreneurial books, it will never talk about nervous system. Like, when by nervous system, I mean, like, how you're internally, like, feeling. Are you feeling anxious? Are you feeling depressed? Are you feeling scared? Like, what's your body, responding? And and I know, like, in my journey as a coach where I've worked with different coaches, one of the most expensive programs I was in was very intense, and there was no talk about the nervous system, and there was a core group of people who real including me, who really struggled because our nervous systems weren't on board with what we were doing, and without having that included in the conversation, it just ultimately became, impractical, and those techniques and that investment was just it didn't work for me and for a lot of those other folks that were, in the same boat, so ultimately
Mhm.
had to find our own way.
Mhm, mm. Makes sense, makes sense. And you mentioned something very important that traditionally, in entrepreneur or business books, we never have seen talking about nervous system or how the connection between mind and body affects
Yeah.
the way you work or think or execute or lead. So how exactly does your process work? I mean, how do you guide your clients to find what does work for them?
Yeah, so I always start with the knowledge that they have already. And a lot of my folks have done yoga before. They have, they're familiar with meditation or somewhat with nervous system awareness. So what I do is an initial assessment where we look at like the different aspects of someone's business, the marketing, the operations, their team, or whatever they have, whether they're just kind of starting out or further along. But then we talk about how they feel with what they're doing. So are they overworking? What are their fears? Like, what are their stress levels, their anxiety? And then we establish, okay, well, what are some strategies to help
Mhm.
them feel grounded and more empowered in the work that needs to happen in the business. So then there's a plan, that they can, they can do themselves, or we continue working together, and I help them, yeah, establish and succeed in the plan.
Hmm. Wow. And I think that is so powerful because especially about because when we talk about nervous system, we also bring energy into the conversation, and kind of letting it lead. So I know because some listeners might be curious, or maybe skeptical about integrating human design or energetic alignment in business. So how
Yeah.
exactly does it look like?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. This is so, so helpful. I find for the people that it works for, me included. So human design, it gives you additional information about yourself, and you get to test it to see if it really is true. And and one of the most valuable insights that it gives is on how your energy flows. Like, is it a consistent energy, or is it variable and you ideally need to um, rest more? So just knowing that can help inform your strategy of like how much you do, how you schedule your day, your week. If you have a launch plan, does it work better for you to do a short and fast, or do something really long and luxurious and spacious? Um, Also, human design talks about making decisions from not from your mind. We use the mind to analyze and gather information and analyze it, but then ultimately the decision comes from our inner wisdom. And I find for me and for a lot of my clients is that when we're making decisions from our mind, we're often not on board. Our bodies aren't on board, and that creates those that tension that I certainly experience of, like, I'm doing things, but my nervous system is feeling tension. When we make a decision from our intuition or our higher guidance, often that goes away, and we just feel more grounded and confident moving forward. We don't have to spend as much time trying to, work on our mindset and our confidence, because it's just there naturally.
Hmm. That's beautiful. And Heidi, you work with solopreneurs who are often, high achievers, but deeply sensitive. So what's your favorite part about helping them build their businesses differently? I mean, what would you say to the person listening to this conversation who thinks this sounds great, but it's maybe not for me?
Yeah, I definitely so for me, a sensitive solopreneur is someone who tends to be maybe a high like an HSP, a highly sensitive person, a projector, or someone who is burnt out and really conscious of their energy. They are very values aligned over, like, just revenue at all costs,
Mm-hmm.
and so along with that, they tend to often have some self-doubt. So it would make sense that they're like, "Oh, will this really work?" Because everything else I hear out there is like, "You just gotta, like, get your mindset and do the Tony Robbins thing and go." But, I think that It you know, it's just worth trying. It's worth trying something different and exploring, because our businesses are ultimately, this is where we spend most of our hours of our life, and this is the mission that we bring into the world. So if there is a way that you can fulfill your mission in a that feels more aligned, that feels more like you, I mean, just that's worth it. But then also, like, if there's a way for you to actually, like, feel more powerful and be capable, have the capacity for more in your business, then that is an amazing investment, right? And
Mm.
with anything in your business, it's all an experiment no matter how much someone promises a result. Do this system and you get this result. It's all an experiment. So, like, which experiments are worth trying for you?
Absolutely. I also, adding to this, I also believe that your business um, is a reflection of you, your inner, person. So
Yeah.
why not take that chance to better yourself so that you better your business as well?
Yeah. Yes. Totally. And like, what do you wanna bring into the world? Like, what do you wanna model? Uh,
Mhm.
you wanna model your values, your authentic self, like, your love, your spirit, not be like a robotic copy of someone else's way of being in the world.
So- so- And also, Heidi, a bit of a different, let's do a contradictory perspective here.
Yeah.
So, isn't it possible that some people thrive on just that adrenaline of hustle? I mean, some high achievers, they'll be like,
Yeah.
I need to be always on hustle because that itself gives me that energy. Like, is burnout always a red flag, or could it just be a intrinsic part of the entrepreneurial cycle?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's moments where you do need to push. Um, I think there's different personality types. There's different, like in human design, different energies where some people, the hustling it doesn't have as much negative consequence. They have the capacity to for that consistent energy output. Um, the thing is that that's what we're modeled, and not all of us can do that. So, um, I think I think it's like recognizing that hustle sometime like being strategic with it of like, okay, I have a launch. I'm gonna plan the last week to hustle. And then after that, I'm gonna take a week off, go like turn my phone off, go into the woods and replenish. Um, Versus I'm gonna do my launch hustle, and then the next week I'm just continuing to hustle on something else. So it's ultimately like knowing yourself, how you work best, and what's sustainable for the long run, I think.
Mm, absolutely. Makes sense. Okay, now of course, let's talk about the execution. So, um, what kind of, uh, approach or practical steps, have to be taken to, you know, build a business that supports the entrepreneur's energy, which includes their mind, body, as well as the nervous system, from the basic. So what are some steps to be taken care of?
Yeah. One thing I want to mention on this, especially with the nervous system, is that um, like, you need to make sure that you're financially, like, okay enough to be able to give yourself some space. Because if you don't have enough money to pay your bills, then that's the most important thing to take care of, because your nervous system won't be able to relax if you're constantly worried about bringing money in. So, so that's the thing to check first, but where I like to start is to, yeah, identify, like, what are the key problems that they're experiencing? Is it anxiety? Is it depression? Is it exhaustion? And then bring in maybe it's just 1 or 2 self-care strategies that help to replenish that, and build that into your workday, into, your work rhythms, and then have a plan. So, I like to do either 6 or 12-month plan where we identify the overarching goals. So where you want to get to in your business and how you want to feel. And so from there, you might identify like just depending on how your mind works, just 3
Mhm.
things. Some folks like a more detailed plan, and then kind of plan things out and think about incorporating support along the way. So, support for your nervous system, what that looks like, accountability so that you're not alone, whether that is with a coach or with a group or even like a yoga buddy that you go to yoga with every week. Just finding ways to give you some support along the way because there'll be moments where you're highly motivated and moments where things feel really hard too.
Yeah, right, right. And these are really doable. And yes, it's just do less, but in in effective way,
Yeah.
minimalistically. So that's something I think our listeners would definitely agree with. So before we wrap up, Heidi, this awesome conversation, if our listeners would like to get in touch with you to seek guidance on this and more wisdom and insights from you, how they can do that.
Yeah, they can visit my website, which is servicewithsoul.co. So that's .co and learn about more what I'm doing there. I've got links to my social media. And right now, I'm also offering free business assessments for folks who are sensitive solopreneurs. So I would encourage folks to check that out. That's on my website as well.
Hmm. We'll have all the links and details in the show notes. And Hari, thank you for such a nourishing, honest conversation. And specifically, what I loved about your approach is that you, of course, shared the tips, the practices mindfully, mentioning that there's some kind of financial constraint or something. Then of course, it has to be approached with a lot of mindfulness. So, absolutely loved it. Thank you for sharing your story and reminding us that success doesn't have to mean sacrifice. So, thank you so much.
Thank you, Sana. This is such a wonderful conversation.
And for everyone listening, if you are craving a way to scale or grow without losing your sanity, energy, or soul, go follow Heidi. Check out her Soulful Scaling Coaching Program. Check out her website, connect with her. I'll have all the links mentioned in the show notes. And I will leave this episode with this thought question. What if the way you build your business is just as important as the business you build? So think about this, and until next time, stay kind to yourself and keep living mindfully. Thank you.